justice, temperance, wisdom, courage. Applying ancient philosophy to modern times, this is the Sunday Stoic.
And now the Sunday Stoic presents Why You Don't Hear Very Many Stoics on Talk Radio.
Laughter.
You're listening to News Talk 109.9 FM. We have on the show John Public and Rye Stubblefield, a practicing Stoic. John, tell me what you think about what the president said today.
Well, let me tell you, buddy. What the president said is outrageous. This country is going to hell in a handbasket. It's just like Hitler and Stalin on a swing set, not letting the children play, and they're standing around crying, and everybody's mad. This is outrageous. I'm not going to take this anymore. I'm going to move to Canada, where the winters are warm and there are no mosquitoes.
Wow, thank you, John Q. Public, for that great commentary. And now, Rye Stubblefield. Now, Rye, you're a practicing Stoic, is that correct?
Yes.
Well, what are your thoughts on what the president said today?
Well, what the president said today is definitely a dispreferred indifferent. And no matter what happens in Washington, I will do my utmost to be a good person. And if the opportunity ever arises where I can cause change, I may well take that opportunity. But until then, I'll focus on the things I can change and pretty much ignore the rest.
Well, is that all you have to say, Rye? Don't you want to yell, jump around on your table, and scream a little bit? That's it? This is terrible radio.
This is episode 13 of the Sunday Stoic. Today we'll be talking about peer pressure and crowds. Have you ever done something you didn't really want to do, or you didn't think was safe to do, or moral to do, but you weren't sure how to say no, or it felt weird? Well, we've all been there to some extent. But hopefully as we get older, we're better at saying no. But looking at the world around me, I know that plenty of adults say yes to crap all the time that they really should have said no to. So far, like I said, this is episode 13. I've put out 2 short episodes that I call Stoic Summaries. That's when I summarize a piece of Stoic literature. So far, I've done some readings by Seneca. I've summarized some of his letters and then given a little bit of a reflection. I kind of like those. If need be, that could replace this format in the future, depending on what works best for everybody. But for now, I'll stick to this format where we have 3 readings from the late Stoics, Epictetus, Marcus Aurelius, and Seneca. And then we link together the readings with some kind of a theme. There's some other great Stoic reading out there that you can do as well, but I haven't been able to find them all in the public domain. So I stick with things that I can read without infringing copyright. What's his name? Musonius Rufus is another one that's a good read, but I don't know that there's any public domain versions of his work out there that are in English anyway. So before we continue, if you want to read for the show or have any thoughts, shoot them to me at sundaystoic@gmail.com. You can also check me out on Facebook. I have a Sunday Stoic page. Go ahead and like the page. And right now it's fairly not very busy, but if some people want to get on there and start posting and commenting and we can start a little community, that would be awesome, but I'm not going to force that to happen. Once again, don't bother with peer pressure. So we know from Stoicism that there are things in our power and things outside our power. The things in our power we can focus on. And we're going to hear something right on those lines from Marcus Aurelius today. Things that are outside our power are what other people think of us, what other people want us to do. And what we do in response is up to us. So let's jump into the readings, and then we'll talk about them a bit. And we'll be hearing from first Marcus Aurelius, then Seneca, and then Epictetus today. The Thoughts of Marcus Aurelius. Chapter 7, verse 71. It is a ridiculous thing for a man not to fly from his own badness, but to fly from other men's badness, which is impossible. Moral Letters to Lucilius by Seneca, Letter 7, On Crowds. Verse 8.
You should not copy the bad simply because they are many, nor should you hate the many because they are unlike you. Withdraw into yourself as far as you can. Associate with those who will make a better man of you. Welcome those whom you yourself can improve. The process is mutual, for men learn while they teach.
The Enchiridion by Epictetus, number 42.
When any person harms you or speaks badly of you, remember that he acts or speaks from a supposition of its being his duty. Now, it is not possible that he should follow what appears right to you, but what appears so to himself. Therefore, if he judges from a wrong appearance, he is the person hurt, since he too is the person deceived. For if anyone should suppose a true proposition to be false, the proposition is not hurt, but he who is deceived about it. Setting out then from these principles, you will meekly bear a person who reviles you, for you will say upon every occasion, it seems so to him.
So Marcus Aurelius really says it the most succinctly here. It's ridiculous not to flee from your own wickedness. That's what we're doing here. We're trying to think of ways to be better people and to try to work on that. Stoicism calls us to reflect, but it also tells us to act. So we're trying to make ourselves better. But he says it is ridiculous to try to get away from other people's wickedness. You can't control them. They are beyond your control. You must learn to deal with their wickedness, accept it when possible, and move on. So that's the Marcus Aurelius approach. Now Seneca tells us that when dealing with crowds or other people, that just because the crowd says to do something or says something is good, that does not make it something you should do. But likewise, bear in mind that just because the crowd is doing something does not necessarily mean that it's bad. If it's something that you don't do, that doesn't make it bad. It may be something that you haven't considered, right? But he also says something very powerful, and that we've mentioned a little bit in the past, to find good mentors. Rather than seeking advice from the masses on YouTube likes and things like that, look for people that will make you better. Look for mentors that will make you a better person. So think about who in your life would fit that bill. Like who would make you a better person if you emulated them or learned from them. Epictetus here puts it in his form of language here, saying, all right, let's say you're in a crowd or someone wants you to do something and you say no. And then they speak badly of you. You're a wimp, you're a wussy, whatever. It's if you take his advice, it's them hurting themselves when they do this. You don't have to let that hurt you. It's your impression of what that person said that hurts you. If you're like, whatever, dude, then it doesn't hurt you. But it does hurt them because it's their false impression that they think is true. They think you're a wussy or whatever it is, right? Because of their false view of the world. But you can't blame them. Like we've seen in the past, Marcus Aurelius says you can't blame people for being the way they are. They don't know right from wrong. They've not been educated in philosophy, right? So what we hear here is the same echo of that same thing. Other people can't do what appears good to you. They only do what appears to be good to them. And like Seneca said in the reading, part of our job is not just to learn from others, but to be the mentor to others to help them to learn. Of course, they have to want to learn to make that happen. But it's your job to model good Stoic behavior so others can see it working in your life. So then Epictetus says, if someone has a false impression about life and then they are the ones deceived, and you need to remember then when someone calls you a name or accuses you for whatever, you can just say, well, I guess it seems that way to them. Rather than saying, you jerk, how dare you think that about me? You can say, I guess from their perspective, that's the way they see me. Whatever. And then you move on. Now, you need to change if you figure out that what they said is correct. If they say, oh, you're not doing your job, and then you realize, oh crap, they're right. You don't say, yeah, whatever. At that point, you say, you are correct. I apologize, and you correct what you're doing, and you've used that as a moment to learn. So, short episode this week. What have we figured out? Well, when we apply Stoicism to living in a society, we need to remember we're working with other people. Other people have different viewpoints that may make their judgments of good and bad different from our own. And we can't be hurt by their judgments and their proclamations, their name-calling, their accusations from time to time, because they think something is good that we know is not. And they're doing what they think is good. You can't fault someone for doing what they think is good, but you may want to educate them to help them change their minds about what good actually is. In terms of just getting by and being a happy person, it means letting things roll off your back a little more easily when someone gets upset with you. Don't hold it in. Realize that they're just a person with their own faults. It seems so to them, whatever, and move on with your life. And don't hold on to grudges, and stay away from groups of people that are going to push you to do the wrong thing, and start hanging out with those that make you a better person. It might sound like advice from the 1950s, hang out with people better than you. That sounds really rude, but from a moral perspective, I'm sure you can find people that are worse than you and better than you. So find people better than you in that sense, and learn from them. Spend time with them, and then help other people that could use some improving in their lives. But you don't want to do it from a preachy, righteous perspective, like, well, I'm a Stoic and I know better than you. That's not who we are. That's not what we do. We want to live good, calm, rational lives and not be jerks. All right? So don't be a jerk. Carpe diem. I will see you soon.